Hello. My tummy still isn't feeling very well, but I did want to do a special video today. Kind of reacting to some news I just saw that Lost Spirits is closing. They are shutting down operations at the end of the month. And I don't know, it's sad. I can't say I didn't see it coming, but it's as a distillery that I've been watching for well over a decade now. I felt like I should say something about it. So to kind of I don't even to salute them, send them off. I'm going to do a review of this, a little sample bottle I made for myself. It might have been the first spirit they ever made. It's certainly the first one I saw in Chicago back in the day. The Leviathan I single malt whiskey. And I have to say, when this hit the shelves in Chicago back in 2012, it was one of the most exciting things I'd seen hit in a long time. So obviously there were a fair number of American single malts around then. You had the trinity of not Balcones, that came later, of Stranahans and St. George and McCarthy's, which was still around in Illinois then. Boy, I wish it would come back. And then a lot of little stuff, which honestly was not the best. A lot of it bottled at 40%. Yeah, it was not a good time for American single malt whiskey. And even the good ones were being a little bit paltry on the presentation. Honestly, it was a lot of 42, 43%, that kind of thing. And then this drops. This was, it could not have been more exciting. This was, it landed on the shelf in this gigantic, tall, like mezcal-looking bottle. And it was coming from this place in California, just kind of east of Monterey, I guess, just outside of Monterey. They called it a skunk works. There was talk of like a wooden still they were using. There was some kind of dragon thing. I don't know what that was. And it was peated. But it wasn't peated with Scottish or Irish peat. It was peated with Canadian peat, so evergreen peat. And they aged it, and not in ex-bourbon, not in sherry. No, they aged this in late harvest Cabernet Sauvignon casks, so dessert cab barrels. So it was quite an assembly of things, and most importantly, they bottled at 53% ABV. So I bought this. I rather enjoyed it. I was rather puzzled by it at the same time. I know a lot of people hated it and continue to hate Lost Spirits, but anyways, I'll talk about where they went since after I give you some notes on this, but I just keep what I've described in mind. These folks were cool back in the day. I don't remember how long it stayed in the the dessert cab casks. Not long, a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, I think. And on the nose, yeah, this is something different. First impression is like raisinets covered in peat moss, something like that. Yeah, there's a little bit of it's young, and there's a little bit of an industrial solvent thing, but not too bad. There's peat here, but again, it's not Scotland peat. It's not that style. This is like, oh God, it's like like peat moss, potted peat, but it's got a little bit of, think of like an old first generation Dodge Charger doing a peel out right next to you, except the wheels are like made of ancient vegetation. That's kind of what this smells like. Ooh, lots of tea, like pu'er tea. Black pepper. It's quite leafy too. There's just some like wet leaves. There's some jasmine happening. It's genuinely a good nose. The little Lapsang Souchong. Touches of apple coming through, like a little bit of apple cheese, which I'm okay with. Just a reminder that, hey, there's malted barley under this somewhere. Yeah. Edgy, young, but has character. Has lots of character. On the palate, again, 53%. Here we go. Oh. Similar vibes, very peppery. Cinnamon coming through in the palate in a way that it wasn't really happening on the nose. Yeah, I'm not really getting cinnamon on the nose. There is actually some pine sap here, though. On the palate, great grip, very tannic, overstewed pu'er. A little lapsang thrown in there for fun. Finish isn't super duper long beyond the kind of tannic bitterness, but pretty dang solid. Mouth feels quite oily, actually. And beyond that, you're getting a similar kind of like, yeah, like raisinets, peat moss, not Scottish, like, again, like this is potting peat. Pine sap thing. Menthol, Ricola, clove. Yeah. It's edgy, it's slightly unbalanced, but not, I mean, okay, so I could see a lot of people just like really ranking this low. Like this is not gonna, lots of people not gonna hit it up with this. But for me, this is bringing enough quality that I'm willing to overlook some rough bits. You can play some wrong notes every once in a while, but to play without passion is the only real crime. To paraphrase Beethoven. Yeah, I'm going to give this some water, and we'll talk further about Lost Spirits. You know what this tastes like? It tastes like a darn good first effort. It's different. It's got character. Yeah, it's rough. Yeah, I would love to see it stay in barrel for longer. Not to get more barrel influence, just to kind of balance off, kind of find its footing a little bit more. But yeah, it's a good start. That's what it is. Let's give this 2 squirts. We'll come back to it. Actually, 2 squirts might not be enough. Ooh, it brings out the sweetness a little. That's nice. I'm gonna go like 2.5. We shall come back. Okay. So Lost Spirits did this. It was cool and weird, like, okay, wood distilled Canadian evergreen peat, American malt whiskey aged in crazy wine casks. Fine, great. And then they, at some point, I don't remember in what order all this stuff happened. They decided to move to LA, which is fine. I'm fine with that. They decided to start making rum, which is great. I am happy to see more, especially at the time, was happy to see more American rums to start to come out. And then they started talking about like accelerated aging and having a chemical nuclear reactor that they could run things through to produce 20 years worth of aging in under a week. And we all kind of did that narrow eyes Cobb from Inception thing. But no, I mean, they were still doing interesting stuff. They started aging their rums like this. They started importing basically super duper young Kalila and then putting it through this process, and it was fun. It just tastes like Kalila. I forget, it was called Abomination or something, and that was fine. But again, it was a little bit one of those things like, you were making your own whiskey. Why did you stop doing that? But I'm still on board. Like, they're making rum, that's great. And then they moved to Vegas. And that sounds fine, right? Because there's a lot of distilleries in the Las Vegas area. The problem is most of those distilleries are kind of on the outskirts and sort of cheaper areas. They moved to a spot right in between the historic Vegas downtown and the Strip. They set up shop there. And they not only had the distillery there, they had they decided they wanted to do like a tour experience, right? So I'm assuming you've all been on distillery tours before, and for craft distilleries, like, y'all are nerds, you've done this. You go in and they take you in the back room and it's boiling hot, and you're like, oh, there's a fermenter, and you see all this stainless steel stuff, and it's cool, right? You go to Lost Spirits, you're walking through like a submarine, and then like a fake Chinatown, and a room lined with chandeliers, and then like there's like pole dancers and burlesque dancers and circus performers hanging from the ceiling, and okay, fair dues, it's Vegas. You gotta do Vegas. That's okay. And yeah, somewhere in there is a distillery, I guess. I don't even know if people who visit Lost Spirits in Vegas actually get to see the distillery part of it. I haven't seen that in any of the videos or pictures, so I don't know. But anyways, and you get, while you're going through this thing, you get big pours of what they distill in your glass. No cocktails. Like, incidentally, have you ever tried pouring like high proof spirits for like normal people, neat, like completely cold without any warm up for it? Especially after they just like come in from the Las Vegas like outside environment. Yeah. Anyways, so and there's also like a restaurant there, and yeah. So they had this whole big thing, and here's the thing. I'm not against like distilleries having like a side hustle, like small distilleries in particular having a side hustle connected to the distillery, which allows them to make a little bit more money, push the business, into the black, because you got to make ends meet, right? So, I mean, if you want to open up like a little bar restaurant on the side, I mean, that's great. You can keep it really kind of lean and bare essentials. You can have a menu that's like half a page, bartender in the front, cook in the back, just a very small, efficient operation. You can scale up from there, like if you got the traffic for it. And you can have maybe some entertainment in there, right? Have some artists come in, have some cool decor set up. Have some local musicians come in for Friday, Saturday night shows. That's great. That makes total sense to me. But the reason people are going to come to your bar/restaurant, whatever the heck you want to set up, is because you're a distillery. What a distillery has to do, what they have to do, is make reasonably good spirits that people want to buy and that people kind of understand and know about and are interested in drinking, right? That's the thing. That the reason why people are going to go to your bar, say, instead of the one down the street, even though the one down the street sells mac and cheese for like with the little breadcrumb topping for like $1 less, is because they're interested because you're a distillery. People might come back because you make a killer pulled pork sandwich or something, but that's what gets them in the door. You make spirits. That's cool. Now, here's the thing. Like, so what exactly is Lost Spirits pouring people when they come in for this like artistic performance environment experience thing? Apparently there's 4 pours. I couldn't figure out what they were. And just take a moment, pause the video if you need to, take a moment to see if you can find Lost Spirits' current product lineup, what the spirits they currently produce. Just try, starting from their main page. Just try to find what bottles do they make and sell. I couldn't. I had to use the Google search insight function to find anything. I only found two rums, and neither of the little sites for them provided any information on really what they are, how they're made, anything like particularly useful. So that's a problem. Now, I mean, maybe that's okay. Like if you're still able to make the money, right? Like if the distilling just becomes like this kind of side thing and everything else becomes the main focus, like maybe the restaurant makes all the money. The problem is the restaurant only seats like 16 people. Like it's a full course meal. I know this is dragging on. I'll get back to this in a second. But I just want to make this has really been bugging me. This has been bugging me all day. Like, it's a long meal. You're charging people $350 for it or so. So you can make a fair bit of money. Like you pack them in on the weekends. On a good weekend, you might be able to make, I don't know, 35, 40 grand, something like that. And that might be able to cover expenses, except that you're paying staff, you're paying like the performers, you have to pay the pole dancers, you have to pay janitors, you have to pay for pest control, you have to pay for utilities, you have to pay for this gigantic space you're running, and yeah, like it's just a lot of money. So you could, okay, maybe like if the restaurant isn't making enough money, the tours will do it. Because, tours are a little bit more expensive than a traditional distillery tour. It's like $60, I think it was, which is reasonable. Like you can't charge a whole lot more than that and expect people to actually show up. And you're not, you're pouring them and then they walk through and they get the show and they come out. So, so if you get a lot of traffic, sure, you could push this into the black. Here is the problem with that. Lost Spirits themselves, I think there's even like a sign, I saw it in one of the videos, encourages people not to drive there because, again, you're getting at least 4 heavy pours during your trip to this distillery. So you're not supposed to be driving there. And all credit due to them. That's very good advice to your customers. So how do you get there? Walk there? I mean, that would be great. Like, it's you have a long day in Vegas doing, I don't know, Vegas-y stuff, and you're like, what do we do to cap off the day? We're going to go to this crazy distillery environment thing and have a great time. That makes sense to me. We're just going to walk from our hotel to get there. Here's the problem is, like, the nearest hotel is like 25 minutes walk away, and it's 25 minutes walking in like the less pedestrian friendly side of Vegas. So you're walking around along, like, on the tiny sidewalk alongside a fast arterial. You're crossing 5-lane death stroads to get to this place. Fuck that. I mean, on my vacation, fuck that. No, absolutely not. So you're taking Uber if you're getting there at all, which means you, on your Vegas vacation, have to, the distillery nerd of the group, have to turn to all the others you're hanging out with and be like, you're talking to your coworkers, your friends, your partner, whatever, and be like, this is it's a performance, but it's not one where you just sit down. It's one where you're moving through it. And oh, by the way, do you know that rum is a fast-growing segment of the craft spirits industry in America? And then their eyes glaze over and they say, yeah, let's just go to Cirque du Soleil and maybe stop at the bar down the street afterwards. And yeah, I mean, yeah, and maybe you could convince them otherwise. Maybe you could change a few minds if you reminded them, hey, this is a distillery and they make some really cool spirits. But what are you going to point to? Like, can you say what they make, how they make it? Get them excited? Yeah, not really. Yeah. So, I don't know. I feel bad, but again, at the same time, I'm not shocked. All right, let's go back to this. Try not to remember the bad times, but only the good times. Back to the Leviathan one. I don't usually expect young spirits to develop a whole lot with water. This one actually does, though. And there's actually a little bit of what is that? Like a little bit of blueberry creeping through, but it's almost like blueberry eau de vie rather than just straight up blueberry. Blueberry skin, maybe. Yeah. Even some like little plumminess coming through. They say it's some sweet, fruity characters that are happening now. You still got all the tea and the peat moss and the all that stuff, but it feels a little bit more desserty now, which is nice. And I am getting the cinnamon now that I wasn't getting on the nose before. Jesus, this is a one spirit review and we're already up to 23 minutes. God. Sorry about my rant. I needed to rant. Yeah. The pepper and the cinnamon have also come out along with the fruit, which is great. On the palate. Yeah, really viscous, really oily. At the same time, really like peppery and clovey. Oh, lots of people would hate this. I'm kind of into it though. It's sort of like take a bunch of like raisins and prunes and some, maybe like dried blueberries. I've never had dried blueberries. I should hunt those down. And just like cover them in cloves and put them in your. But it's not going to numb you. It just tastes like cloves. Is any of this helping? I'm just going to keep going. Pu'er, a lot more pu'er now. a little bit more puer now than what there was before. Definitely not subtle. Definitely feels like the spirit and the oak haven't completely married yet, but we're getting there. Oh, what would I give this? I'll call this an 84 plus. That seems like a fair grade. 84 plus for the Lost Spirits. You can still buy this. I've seen it on online shops in various places. Lost Spirits Leviathan at 53%. And yeah, I don't know, like, I liked a lot of your stuff, guys. Sorry to see you go. I don't know what to say. And for everyone else, I don't know, let this be a cautionary tale to remember that you got to be a distillery first. You got to nail that and build everything else from there, and not just like hide the distillery and act back behind everything else. Yeah. Thanks for watching, and cheers.